Hey ho! Let's go. Welcome back on this Tuesday evening as we continue our 2025 draft preparation by looking at the outfield and DH positions. But as we always do, we begin each show by asking you the question, where else would you rather be than right here? Boom! Right now. First of all, give a shout out to my good friends at the Last Dive Bar for the awesome Oakland Coliseum cap. Folks, you are looking live at our split studios. This is Fantasy Baseball Now, episode 22 of our show, part of the Ball9.com podcast network. Chris Vitale might be with us next week. Combined 70 years of fantasy baseball experience for Mike and myself, going to be 72 very soon. We're here to talk Major League Baseball with a fantasy spin, outfield, DH, hot stove update, kind of quiet. We'll probably talk about football, though. I'll be nauseated. But with that, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. Since I watched Grumpy Old Men last night, I'll give a shout out to Slippery's Tavern, who's sending me my Metropolitan Stadium cap shortly. So as we start the collection of stadiums forlorn and long gone by, we'll work on Crosley Field in Cincinnati next. We'll make that one a mission. I'll see if I can get a Connie Mack hat.
Okay.
I think if it was Connie Mack Stadium, it'd be a fedora. I'd have to wear a suit when I wore that cap, like a 1950s base, and smoke cigarettes while I was doing it.
Hey, did I see? Was that you on Broad Street the other day?
It was not. My oldest daughter was on Broad Street up the grease pole. She was not up the grease pole. She was within startling distance of the dipshit that decided to pull a pistol out and shoot it in the air during that.
Oh, that's brilliant. I didn't hear about that.
She was not near the dude that fell off the pole and who's now in an ICU in an induced coma, and they don't think he's going to make it.
Oh, that sucks.
Wyatt was watching video, like people were live streaming, and he was wondering to see if his friends were on any of the awnings of the stores, and that was the NFC Championship game.
Nice.
Because I said to my cousin the last time they won the Super Bowl, which they won't do next week, we'll talk about that later, it turned into a looting event. It's like everything else in Philly.
Not a shock.
Everything else in Philly is awesome until it's not. And it turns very, very quick. I mean, it turns in a blink. It's like you go to the bathroom at the 2-minute warning and you come back and you missed a play and it was a touchdown. And you're like, what happened?
That's all it takes is for one person to say, I'm cold, I need some gloves.
That's it. And God bless the Philadelphia police to try to remain like disinterested in the entirety of it. And
yeah,
it's not good. Like even in our little section of the world, our town square, I didn't go down because frankly, I'm rooting for the Eagles to lose because I live here and I can't take it. Our little town area, there was 2,500 people down there after the game, and they were lighting fireworks off in the street.
Wow. Nice. Good time.
Yeah, my dog was not thrilled.
All right.
Not thrilled at all. They certainly weren't celebrating any Sixers wins. Oof.
They got that going for them. Hey, let's do some outfield draft prep. All right. Little different this week in our rankings. We each ranked 24 guys.
Yeah, we'll both do our rant.
Yeah.
We'll both do our rant. Well, you're gonna go first. We'll both do our rant about DH when we get to DH because we both have an opinion about it. But hello, Theodore, Uncle Ted. Nah, the NFL's not rigged.
Yeah.
How could it be? They can see a tennis ball at 140 miles an hour and whether it hits a line. And they can't put a chip in football to figure out when the ball's
going. Yeah, I know.
Internet. Good God.
I know. All right. So outfield. Now, what you said last, there's a couple guys in here that intrigue me, and I don't know if that's a good thing. I have Ronald Acuna 10. and he's usually number one by a lot.
Pretty
But
close to it.
how long is he going to be out?
May 1.
And what are you going to get when he comes back? 2 major knee surgeries now.
Yeah.
It's scary. And in a dynasty league, you have to keep him, but it's a big investment. I would keep him and just say, look, this year might suck. We'll get through it, but I'll have him going forward and just pray to God he doesn't have another major injury.
Yeah, I think he's probably I think June 1 we'll know. That's probably fair, right? If he doesn't come, they're saying May 1. They're saying he's not going to be ready for the start of the season. And I have him in my National League only league with 1 year left on we have 3-year contracts for players. I have 1 year left to save him. And I'm going to save him at the risk of letting Brian Reynolds go, who will help me day 1. I'm going to save him, but I think June 1 we'll know kind of where he is. When he came back last time, he started right off the bat. Holy smokes. The northern New York, the hinterlands of the foothills of the Adirondacks have joined the chat.
He's in the party. In the house.
He is in the party. This is I'm honored. I'm honored. I'm honored. I mean, it's, I'm sure he's probably watched the second episode of Severance, so he doesn't need to catch up on that tonight. But or 38th rerun of Blue Bloods, whatever he watches on a nightly basis. I'm surprised I'm not watching Carolina doesn't start till 9. He has to. Right, Acuna has to be in the top 10.
He has to. He's too good.
Because a one-legged Acuna is better than everybody that we have ranked below him, with the potential exception of of Jackson Merrill if he doesn't have a sophomore slump, right? So there's that. Yeah,
there's other guys on here that are real interesting. I dropped Julio Rodriguez down from where I normally would have put him, mostly because I picked him for AL MVP last year and he burned me. So down you go. I think Corbin Carroll will have a bounce back. He got it going last year. Number 7 for me, Jackson Chourio, Milwaukee. He was great in the second half.
Carroll's great in the second half. Chourio is great in the second half. Duran is a rising star. He's a star. Tatis could easily go to 2, 3, 4 on this list easily if he stays off a motorcycle, if he can, if he doesn't get hurt and he produces like he's capable of producing. I mean, the top 10, like, this is not an easy position. We could do 40 outfielders and have more conversation about 20 through 40 than we would have about 1 through 10. Because 1 through 10 is 1 through 10, right? I mean, it is what it is.
I'll tell you, the guy I love, I think Hernandez is going to have a better year in LA this year as compared to last. 13 and 14. Side note, I have these 2 on Team Pugsley Baseball, and they're going to hopefully be here for a couple of years until I trade them. But Lawrence Butler of Oakland, James Wood, Washington, they both kind of they got the first year out of the way. They showed flashes of where their games could go. I thought they're worth the investment in our Dynasty League, and welcome to the family, boys. I'm looking forward to this year.
I wanted to rank Pete Crow Armstrong higher. I wanted to rank him higher.
Oh, he's great. Did you have him the entire time he was up last year?
Yeah, he's fun as fun. I don't think in a 5-keeper league he'd be a scrap keep. I don't think he's going to be valuable as a trade chip forever. In a deep keeper league, in a deep dynasty league, you're absolutely keeping him. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. I mean, Brenton Doyle is hopefully he doesn't go the way of what seems to happen in Colorado is they have a great first year and then they disappear into the oblivion. I don't know what to make about Santander on Toronto.
I love him up there.
Look, he's going to hit 30 homers no matter what. He's going to hit 30 homers, right? I mean, that's what he's going to do. That's what he does. Not as much protection in the lineup, so I don't know what that'll do for him. It's interesting in a team that the fan group in Pittsburgh at FanFest spent the entire weekend chanting "sell the team" because they don't invest. We both have two guys on this list.
Yep.
Now O'Neal Cruz obviously moving to the outfield puts him here, but Brian Reynolds is as steady as he can possibly be, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, Ted makes a great point. Like Suzuki, who I did not rank in the top 24, and PCA definitely benefit from Kyle Tucker in that lineup.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
That's a pretty good outfield. And Ian Happ. So I don't know I wonder if Suzuki ends up being, or if they stick PCA in center field, move Happ back and forth between third and the outfield, or maybe move Happ back to the infield. Give Tucker a day here and there at DH. Give Suzuki a day here and there at DH. I mean, Suzuki's not a terrible outfielder either. So there's that. I'm kind of surprised that you had Randy Arozarena on here, to be honest with you.
You know why? I had him the second half last year. He was so bad until late July.
He was so bad.
He
got liberated from Tampa.
He could have hit 800 the last 2 months of the year and still only batted 220 on the year. That's what it was going to be. But he got it going. I don't know if it's just one of those things. He got it going. I think he could do well in Seattle. He still will steal some bases. So yeah, that's why I put him in there. But the Pete Armstrong, what I don't get too caught up in rankings that I read online because I don't know who's writing those. He was ranked 153rd in CBS going into this year. And I was like, are you? Because when I'm doing my list, I'm like, where is he? I went on my way to look for him. I think he is very undervalued.
I think he is too. He's going to have to show, for him to get more love, he's going to have to show more power. But what do they project him at, 14 or 15 homers? If he hits 20 homers and drives in 70 and hits 270, he could probably, 60 stolen base is clearly not out of the realm of possibility for him. And 100 runs is not out of the realm of possibility for him. So, like, would you take as your, as one of your four guys, 270, 20, 75, 100 runs and 40 to 60 steals? Yeah, absolutely you would.
You know what I love about watching him? He plays like his hair's on fire.
Oh, he's the fastest human being on a base I've ever seen in my life.
He knows one speed, and that's why he's fun to watch.
So fast. I mean, they talked about him. They talked about him and talked about him and talked about him, and they called him. He was up early when Bellinger was hurt. They sent him back down for a little bit. He went insane when they sent him back down. And then I think Suzuki got hurt, and when he came back up, they were.
Yep.
That's when they knew they had to trade Christopher Morel because they couldn't have him not in the lineup. Plus, he's a phenomenal defensive center fielder.
Yeah,
he catches everything, which doesn't make a damn bit of difference from a fantasy perspective. But only in that he's going to play every day, so it does matter. Where defense matters and fantasy is, plus defenders are going to play, so you're going to get counting stats. Head to head, sometimes that doesn't help you a hell of a lot. Wyatt Langford's an intriguing player on this list for me. So I thought he should have won American League Rookie of the Year. I still think he should have won American League Rookie of the Year. If they're better, as they should be,
yep,
he was, with the exception of he had a slow start, which is not unusual for rookies. But when he got going, he was going.
yep.
Like he was going. Like, so, I mean, Yelich scares me only because you never know.
Because he gets hurt all the time.
I mean, his back could be could be shot in a minute and a half. I'm gonna share where we're a little bit different.
Yeah, get your list up.
And where we're a little bit different is I've got Harris at 12. And I've got four. I have Tatis higher. I had Tatis at 4, but frankly, 1 through 7 for me.
Yeah,
actually 4 through 7 for me. It doesn't matter. And you can make an argument to flip flop Tucker and Soto, and it'd be very difficult. It'd be very difficult to be wrong either way.
Yeah,
their stats are pretty almost similar. I think Harris is going to have. He got going in the second half. I think he's going to have a big year this year.
I think that whole team is. We've been talking since we've been doing this.
No.
Talking up Olsen, talking up Austin Riley. Albie's a little bit if he can stay healthy. Yeah, I think the Braves just, Acuna will be back in that lineup. A couple guys start hitting, hopefully get contagious. But yeah, no, he's a good pickup there too.
So the only two players that I have that are different, I got Cody Bellinger at 22, and I've got Brandon Nimmo at 23. And Brandon Nimmo is a sneaky good player, and that's how hard that is for me to say.
Very, very.
For me to give any credit to anybody that plays on that low rent redheaded stepchild team that's on the other side of the city is not easy, but he's going to benefit more than anybody from Soto being on that team. It'll be interesting to see what their lineup looks like if they lead him off.
Yep.
And then Soto hits behind him, or if they have somebody else lead off, and I don't know who that would be right in this minute, and have him hit 2, Soto hit 3, and Lindor hit 4. That's a very distinct possibility. But I think he's going to push up. Hitting anybody that hits anywhere around Soto gets a lift.
Yeah.
They get a lift because if they're a base stealer and they hit in front of him and they get on base, he's going to see a million pitches. He's going to make the pitcher insane. So you're going to get a base stealing opportunity there. He's going to walk whether they want to walk him or not. If you hit behind him, he's on base an incredible amount of time. So it just creates total chaos for whoever hits behind him. I mean, I can't envision a year that Lindor would have that would be better than last year. But
yeah. What about Bellinger? What's your expectation with him? Great stadium for him.
He's got to stay healthy. He has to stay healthy. So based on what Boone said yesterday, he's going to play center field. Dominguez is going to play left, and Judge is going to go back to right.
Yeah.
And they've still got Grisham that they can put in the outfield, and they can play Bellinger at first base if Goldie needs a day off, which is going to happen. I mean, he's 135 years old. He's going to need a day off.
Yep. We'll get the profile in a little bit, by the way.
Yeah. I had a hard time not putting him on here, to be honest with you.
Went back to Atlanta, just talked about all those guys, and that's part of the, they just added profile to that thing. They were
Yeah,
a little down last year. That's not going to last.
So Acuna gets healthy, and they could probably move him to right field. They could probably move him to right field to save his legs a little bit and let Harris stay in center. And I mean, Profar, Acuna, Harris is a pretty damn good outfield.
Yeah.
And great fits in a lineup that's also got a ton of other guys that can hit. They're going to score a lot of runs. There's no doubt about that.
You know, another guy I want to bring up. We don't have him. You know, you never dream of a day Mike Trout wouldn't make a top 24 list. The sad part about it is just he's being robbed of some great prime years of his career.
Yeah.
And I hate when that happens to the elite because you want to see baseball such a numbers-oriented game through its history. It would have been nice to have seen where Trout would have landed on all that, but
yeah,
he just keeps getting hurt, and it's every year.
Yeah, it's too bad. I mean, if we turn back the clock a year, Adolis Garcia would have been in the top 10 without a doubt. I mean, certainly Churio and Duran wouldn't have been there. Off Carroll's rookie season, he might have been there. But, I mean, it's a big year. I mean, for Garcia, this is a big year. Like, he has to have a better year this year.
Yeah.
I mean, he can't have a much worse year, can he? I mean, can he or Simeon have a worse year than they had last year? If they did, they're in big trouble if either of them do.
No. Simeon can't be any worse than he was. He was awful.
No. I mean, I think TJ Friedel could be a sleeper. That's a whole show, Ted. It really is. It's a whole show. It's a whole show of what the total historical compilation of Ted Williams' career and others that lost time in the military, Willie Mays, others that were in the military, what their careers total numbers would have looked like had they not been in the war. We might be talking about in 27, we'll be talking about what would numbers be like if they didn't miss a year and a half because of a lockout. But that's a totally different thing. We're not there yet. Neither of us have. We haven't even talked about Lewis Robert, but look, come on.
Oh, yeah. He should be on the list. I don't think he cares to be considered among the best.
No, we need to get Big Fly to do a free Lewis Robert T-shirt, like the old free Mike Williams T-shirt at USC. We need him.
Yeah, but Lewis Robert didn't have a lot of effort last year either.
Not you gave the key hint, Ted, that what changed since 23 is they took away the shift that helped left-handed hitters significantly.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's a research project I'm not willing to do, but I'd like to do it. Is that what's the difference in OPS for lefties since the shift went away?
You know a guy I like you can get late in the draft? NLCS MVP Tommy Edman. If he can get the at-bats.
He'll get at-bats.
Sneaky good.
I mean, to that point, on that team, the guy who, if he gets at-bats, who could be a steal is Conforto. But Conforto hits.
Yeah.
I mean, Conforto hits. I mean, Ted mentioned Stephen Kwan earlier. Like, after the All-Star break, he should have been sent down. He was terrible. He was not good at all. I mean, I think Cedric Mullins is he's like a do or die pick. Like he's going to get picked.
Yeah.
He's going to get selected. There's no doubt about it.
He's going to disappoint. The batting average is awful.
I mean, his average draft position right now is 180.
Yeah.
That's, you're around 12, 13, 14. He's sitting out there.
He's worth a flyer at that point.
If he's 2022 Cedric Mullins, you stole him.
Yeah.
If he's half of 2024 Cedric Mullins, you're going to be like, it's like having Nick Castellanos. You're going to be out of your mind all the time because you're going to bench them. They're going to go nuts for a week. You're going to put them back in. They're going to suck again. You're going to bench them. They're going to go nuts for a week. It's just guys like that make me crazy. They make me nuts. They make me crazy. You know, the Orioles made a huge move that could affect the outfield. They made a giant move.
Yes, they did. Shaking it up.
Shaking it up. I mean, really rounding out their offense and really helping their team in a move that just shook the East to its core. And with the signing of Dylan Carlson, you know what? Good. Keep toiling in mediocrity. Your loudmouth fans finally won some games, all 9 of them, and you reward them by doing absolutely nothing. Tyler O'Neill.
Yeah.
Tyler O'Neill.
Too quiet.
The other guy that, I mean, Ted did throw Kerry Carpenter up there. Like Riley Green's going to be a solid pick this year.
Yeah. They're going to be a fun team all around.
They were a fun team last year.
Yeah, they were.
They were a fun team last year. That run, the run from mid-August is great. It's great when there's good, for every city, it's great when there's good baseball. For historic franchises, it's better for the game when those teams are relevant.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a rat's ass if Miami or Tampa is any good. They don't care. But Detroit, it matters. Cincinnati, it matters.
Yeah, I agree.
The Cubs, it matters. I mean, like it means more for baseball when those teams are good because they have so many rivalries because of history that their relevance makes those rivalries, brings life to those rivalries again. And then from a fantasy perspective, now they get overdrafted because now everybody thinks Detroit players are going to fall into that mix, right? So I take Skubal out of it because he's either going to be a first round pick if you value pitching like a lot of people, or he's going to be saved in a dynasty league until his arm falls off. Pittsburgh would be the same thing. Skeens is the same thing. But like, if you think these teams are going to sustain and they're on the up and up, then all of a sudden you start looking at Riley Green, Kerry Carpenter. You start looking at guys like that. What's Glaber going to do? Cincinnati's got a horde of players that you're like, man, if they're as good as, if the Terry Francona effect is the Terry Francona effect, they're going to be really good. And I got to get those players because the Central's always wide open anyway. In fact, I think, did both of us pick them to win the Central last year? I think we did.
I believe you are correct.
Where we were both.
I think I actually, in the All-Star break, in one of my closing fives, I picked them to go on a tear in the second half and win the division, and that didn't happen.
No, it didn't happen. It was
Not
embarrassing.
even close.
No.
Not even close.
No, you can't get them all right. I'm not 100% sure we got any of them right last year, but we can't get them all right.
We're going to make a projection on when someone's going to make the mistake on Byron Buxton for the aforementioned injury concern reasons for guys that just always get hurt.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that guy. I like to watch him play. I'm kind of surprised they haven't traded him because for whatever reason, they're trying to cut payroll while the team is for sale, which I don't understand that. I just don't get it. I don't get that. And he was talked about. I mean, I know they moved Gabe Kapler, who amazingly didn't make either of our top 24. Watch him be healthy and hit, 35 home runs in Citizens Bank Park, which is not out of the question at all.
Yeah.
I mean, 24 is hard to do. 24 is hard to do for outfield because because then we don't talk about guys like Turner Ward, and we don't talk about, We don't talk about Quan that much. We don't talk. We didn't talk about Jason Dominguez. I'm not.
Well, I was going to ask you about Dominguez.
I'm a Yankee fan. So
what's his impact going to be in New York this year? He's coming in. It's his time, right?
Casey Stern, who was formerly on MLB Network, has one of the greatest lines of all lines. Prospects are cool, parades are cooler.
Yep.
And they've had more than one opportunity, including for Kyle Tucker, to trade Dominguez, and they haven't. The last outfielder of his height that went on to be either win an MVP or have a Hall of Fame career is Hack Wilson. So that's only 100 fucking years ago, or close to it. Pretty close to it, right? 90 years ago.
Okay.
So he's not big. I want him to do great. I want him to live up to all the hype. I mean, they've been talking about him since he was 16. He's still incredibly young. I haven't really seen enough of him as a defensive outfielder to know how good he is. But I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I mean, they're talking about him maybe leading off.
Yeah.
Which that's a lot of pressure on a guy that's going to be going into his first full season. I mean, Ted does make a good point. Outfield's extraordinarily deep. If you don't have one of the top 10, 12, 14 guys, you can definitely wait.
Yeah, you can.
You can definitely wait on outfielders and get productivity that can help you any way you play, right? Any way you play.
Yeah, but here's the problem with outfield. It dries up. It's deep to a point, and then it's over.
Everything's a run. Every draft, there's a run on something, right? Usually it's closer, but there's always a run on something. It's catcher. Nobody keeps a catcher. Then all of a sudden, the top 5 guys go, and then you're like, all right, screw it. I'll just wait.
Yeah. Yeah. And outfield's got a lot of intriguing prospects down here, and in the 40s and 50s for sure. Maybe we'll circle back with another outfield show, perhaps. Or we're gonna have we're gonna have a breakouts and all that. We're gonna have a separate show on that. Other than
breakouts,
just
don't draft guy. I mean, we'll have that. So I have a feeling in the breakouts there's gonna be a lot of outfielders.
Oh, there very well could be.
I mean, I think there's gonna be a lot of outfielders, right? I think Ceddanne Rafaela is a guy we're going to talk about for sure. Lars Nootbaar is going to be playing a full season. He was really good 2 years ago. So there's guys like on the Cardinals, Alec Burleson was. I can't believe he sustained what he sustained last year. He was a must-have guy for most of the year, and it looks like he's going to be their first baseman this year.
Yeah.
So which is good in a way. In some ways it's good, and in some ways it's not. So like multi-position players, like O'Neal Cruz is a great guy to draft because you can you could draft him, grab another shortstop that maybe Mason Wynn's going to take a step forward this year. I'll grab him as a shortstop on my roster too. And then I've got him when Cruz isn't eligible at shortstop anymore. I mean, they do give you that level of flexibility. And then you can add another outfielder, or we can go to, or you can add one of these guys who.
Yeah, this won't take long.
We'll rant about this in a second, right?
This won't take long. The DH spot.
It won't. There's no. I did change Brett Rooker's team name to Los Oclamento.
Yeah.
So I added Yoshida, who you didn't have. I hate this position.
Yep.
It pigeonholes you into them being a utility player or a DH only player. You get no flexibility with guys that don't qualify any place else.
Yes, but
none.
But if you have one of the top 3, maybe 4 with Azuna,
Yeah.
it's
Well, then
okay. 'Cause in our league, we have a 9-hitter offense. That's a position. It's not who's my 4th best outfielder, and I'll stick him at DH. If you can get somebody that's going
right.
to give you numbers. I had Schwarber last year. I thought I was going to hate having him. I loved it because he bombs and he puts up numbers and he's
Yeah, he
great
does.
with the counting stats. Okay, so I have one of the best DHs in our league. So you can't
Head to
throw
head,
the
he helps
position
too
away.
because OPS, he's a high OPS guy too. So
Yeah.
his batting average blows, but he does walk a lot.
And
Otani's on a different level than all these guys. I'm happy Rooker got a contract.
oh yeah, for sure.
He
I mean,
good
for me,
for
if I didn't have either of the top 3, but don't wait on DH is my point, right? If you have one of these guys, but if they're gone,
the likelihood if you have one of the top 3 and you're in a dynasty league, they're not available in your draft anyway.
probably.
And Stanton's such a wild card. If Stanton played 140 games, he'd be second because he'd hit 50 homers. He never
Yeah.
plays 140 games. 120 is a stretch.
Yeah. And the
I, mean,
last
I hate these players because they kill your flexibility. They're great when they're actually in a large. I hate them in our league because they really kill your flexibility. Like if you have a hot 4th outfielder, and you can't make a trade to move them, or you don't want to move them, you can't get them in your. If you're overstocked in your roster with outfielders, you can't get them in your lineup if you have one of these guys.
I hit that spot last year. I had to trade Rooker around the All-Star break. I couldn't play him anymore because it was him or Schwarber.
Yeah.
And as hot as Rooker was, I was like, I got to play the numbers. And Schwarber was more apt to have the bigger year. Rooker just never slowed down. His luck.
The worst thing that happened to you last year was Rooker didn't get traded to the Phillies when they were here before the All-Star break.
Yes. Yes.
Because 20 days later, he would have been an outfielder.
Yeah, he didn't miss by that much. He just stopped playing.
Yeah. Well, Butler, that's Lawrence Butler's fault, honestly.
Yeah, maybe so.
Because he got up and got going, and there was he had to play every day.
Yeah. No, yeah, you might as well, make him the DH. It's fine.
I mean, who knows what Soler's going to
hitting.
do? Who knows what Soler's going to do for the Angels? I mean, he does.
If I got a team and I got Jock Peterson and Jorge Soler in my active lineup, I'm probably not very good.
The challenge with Peterson is he can only play half the time. Like he can't hit lefties to save his life. But if you do have him and you stick him on your bench and they've got 8 games and they're facing 6 right-hand pitchers, he's going to get 6 games of at bats. And when he goes on a tear, he's amazing. When he's hot, there's nobody hotter than him.
Yeah, which probably is the reason why he's on the list. But over the long haul, you just can't have it.
Yeah.
You can't.
And it's been his whole career, honestly, which has been a long career.
Yeah, he's had a good run.
He's certainly been productive enough to have enough of a career that he's still getting paid. He still has value. He was a good fit for the Diamondbacks last year. He'll be a great fit in Texas. He's a great fit for Texas.
I'm surprised you have Yoshida at 6.
He's a productive player.
Does he get the bats though?
That lineup, I hate to even talk about that lineup. That lineup is really good.
It scares you. I know.
That lineup is really, really good. It's really good. That lineup is young and deep, and they put the ball in play on top of that. And like them or not, they have a great manager that knows what buttons to push.
And which garbage cans to bang.
Yeah. I mean, I think that should be their alternate uniform this year. It should be a waste management truck.
All right.
That would be more fitting.
All right. You move to the hot stove league.
So we had in my National League only league, we had our end of year banquet on Sunday, right? So it's National League only, and that is that's a catcher, a corner infielder, a middle infielder, 2 utility players, plus 4 outfielders, and all the rest. So I think it's a 15 offensive player lineup. That's a lot for a National League only team. And the players moving into the National League from the American League this year, holy cow.
Good batch.
Well, I mean, Soto comes back. I had Corbin Burns with 2 years left on our league contract, and he left. I lobbied to get that contract reinstated so I could put him back on my roster and save him. That was voted. That was the fastest no vote in the history of that league, as they all, the league's 35 years old, and they're like, that's the fastest no vote in the history of this league. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
I got other stuff I'm going to ask for, so I put the low-hanging fruit out there first. But the owner that had Soto finished last, so he has the first pick of the draft. So he's like, well, I guess I know who I'm taking first. I'm like, sure about that? You sure about that? Because Kyle Tucker was in the American League last year too, and now he's in the National League. There definitely were better. They're definitely, Chase DeLauter. I love Chase DeLauter. I loved him last year. I was hoping they were going to call him up at the end of the year, Ted. Roman Anthony's going to be Roman Anthony's just what I need as a Yankee fan, is another really good, like Marcelo Mayer and Roman Anthony come up to the Red Sox, and their lineup's going to be terrifying.
Wow. Look at all the respect you're showing the Red Sox.
I will never have Kyle Manzanardo again, ever. Never. Never. Kyle Manzanardo's on my do not draft list. Probably going to get the first base job in Cleveland. I don't know what's in his way.
Hey, hot stove update.
Ryan Presley, man.
Ryan Presley to
that's a significant hot stove fantasy related move, because the Cubs aren't going to be terrible, and he's going to close.
He's going to close there.
I've heard
the money involved with that. I think the Astros might open the door a little more to bring back Bregman.
That's what it sounds like.
Which is fine.
6 for 160.
He's never going to get that.
6 for 160.
Uncle Ted weighing in on the Astro trade.
No, he's better than what they had.
Then you brought up Profar. I love the Profar signing for Atlanta.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. Talk about a perfect fit. So apparently he only had 2 places that he wanted to go. Was back to San Diego or to Atlanta. That's why it took so long for him to sign. He wasn't really interested. I know a lot of Yankee fans were begging for the Yankees to sign him.
What's the deal in San Diego?
Great question.
Cease might be going to Minnesota. Michael King might be on the block now. What are they doing? They're close. They're close.
That's a great question. They do this all the time. I think the ownership issue has really screwed them up.
Yeah.
I think the ownership issue really screwed him up. Like, now,
Uncle Ted.
I mean, the guy's wife is suing his brothers because, like, they've frozen her out, and it was in the trust that his family still had some control, and it's a mess.
Yeah.
It's a mess, and the brothers might be telling him to start slashing payroll, and it's kind of hard to slash payroll. Like, you're not trading Machado or Bogarts. I mean, you want to trade Tatis? I mean, they get a king's ransom for the guy, but I mean, him and Jackson Merrill are basically the future of your franchise. Yeah, they don't want to pay the tax.
Yeah.
And the Yankees don't want to pay the tax. I get San Diego not wanting to pay the tax. I don't get the Yankees not wanting to pay the tax. I don't get that at all.
That's a
I
shame.
can't wrap my head around that. I can't wrap the Cubs around not wanting to pay the tax. That's another.
Well, the Ricketts family needs to make a profit.
Not necessarily not necessarily hot stove related, but fan fests have been going on. Like there's fantasy events going on down in Florida for all these teams, and I think I sent Michael King back to the Yankees so I know they want to trade Arias and King because they're going to be free agents next year.
Yeah.
So that tells you a lot about where they expect their payroll to be going forward. They're not going to make an effort to re-sign them. They already want to get rid of Cease, which is mind-boggling to me because they couldn't pitch before he got there, and then they won't be able to pitch after he's there. Their farm system's still deep and loaded, so they probably have guys that we've never heard of that are close. But Pirates Fan Fest, sell the team chance. Bob Nuttig doesn't even make an appearance because he's a pussy asshole. Reinsdorf makes an appearance, and the 11 White Sox fans that are remaining that haven't decided that they're just baseball's not for me anymore. He faced sell the team chance. Padres ownership is a mess. Cohen with like these cryptic conversations about negotiations with Pete Alonso. The Cubs saying they got to make a profit when like the franchise value's gone up $3 billion since a Rickett family bought them. Like they make $600 million a year. Their payroll's $243. It's just this lack of connection. The lack of connection of the owners and the fan expectation is mind-numbing to me. Like everybody bitches about the Dodgers and say the Dodgers are doing this and the Dodgers are doing that, and of all people, Jack Flaherty's like, don't blame the Dodgers. The other teams are doing it wrong.
Exactly.
It's not the Dodgers' fault. The Dodgers are the Dodgers know what they're getting themselves into.
Are some of these franchises setting themselves up for a work stoppage?
CBA's up after 26. They're not going
to get 2 years.
They're not going to do it early.
Not going to do it early, but if you start
the players are incensed about like the Marlins having a $43 million payroll.
Yeah, well, put a floor in. Fight for it next time.
Well, it should be a priority, but they're not going to. But the players don't want a cap. The players want a floor because that'll help if there's a floor, that'll help everybody. That'll help these guys that don't get signed. That'll help that'll help these 7, 8, 9 year vets that are still good enough to make a major league roster and they don't get signed because I'd rather pay, a rookie than pay, a vet, 3.2. I'd rather pay a rookie $1 million like that. I'd rather build my roster that way. And there was look, if you're the A's, for example, like why would you sign, Gio or Shella if you can call Miller up and let him play? You know what I mean? We're going to be competitive, but we got to see if these kids can play, because if they have value and we can spin them to go from point A to, from point D to point A in a heartbeat. Like if you draft right and you develop players, you can get there, but then you got to sign them when they get good. And these owners just aren't doing it.
Yeah.
Like wait till Paul Skeens needs to get paid.
Yeah.
And watch what happens in Pittsburgh. They already have a track record. I mean, they've only had Glasnow and Cole on their roster in the past, and they moved them before they even had to pay them. So it's going to be, That's the looming. And sadly, if the Dodgers dominate like they could, there's no guarantee because it's a long season and injuries happen and other teams get hot and all that other stuff that happens in baseball, which is why baseball's so great. But if they run away with it, the chatter's just going to get louder and louder and louder, and it's going to dominate the landscape of the game for the next 2 years, and it's going to be not good.
Yep. Yeah.
It's going to be not. It's going to be not good at all.
I don't deal well with strikes, lockouts.
No.
Should not happen.
No.
All right, football. We'll talk about what happened. We'll do a little more in the Super Bowl next week, especially if Vitale is going to stop in.
Yeah, we can talk about the fact that Jaden Daniels and Jaden Daniels and Hurts were both born, lived their lives, went to college, and threw a pass in the NFC Championship game before anybody on the Cowboys did. Talk about that.
Yeah.
We could talk about, Tress Waynes has thrown more passes in the NFC Championship game than Dak Prescott. We can bring that up.
I talk Cowboys all day. They're great comedy.
Like the Eagles are a really good team. They're going to lose in the Super Bowl because they're going to lose because they're going to get out coached. This is when the shit's going to hit the fan. The turnover, the 3 turnovers, the score's not indicative of the game because without the turnovers, the Commanders are probably up at halftime, and it's an entirely different game.
Yeah, the hard part I have with this is I was rooting so hard for Buffalo, mostly because Liam likes the Bills, and I wanted him to be happy. Noah's kind of latched onto the Chiefs a little bit, which just means I've failed at this dad thing. So here's the hard part. Being a Raider fan, I hate the Chiefs. I never want them to do well. I'm going back to Len Dawson, Willie Lanier, and those pain in the asses in the 70s. Part of me is like, okay, you know what? Get it out of your head and appreciate the fact that winning 17 straight one-score games is almost a statistical impossibility.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just speak to the greatness of Mahomes. You have a Hall of Fame head coach and a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator over there.
Yeah.
And maybe I should just take a step back and say it's a Super Bowl, take a break from the dislike, the bitter dislike of the Chiefs, and just enjoy the football game and appreciate the greatness like I did in Michael Jordan's last year. I said, I'm just going to sit back and watch this. And I'm glad I did that. That said, I that's the rational part of my mind, which has no chance of overcoming my dislike for the team and being irritated when
I couldn't root for the Bills on Sunday if I wanted to. You can't root for a team that you play twice a year, that your team plays twice a year. It's hard. It's almost impossible.
Yep.
It's almost impossible. They bitch about them all you want. Everybody had a chance to draft Mahomes. They did. Right. Everybody had a chance to draft Mahomes. They did.
They traded up.
Spagnuolo was out of football. Miserable head coach with the Giants. Terrible head coach with the Giants. Not much better with the Rams. Andy Reid's like, why don't you go back to what you're great at?
Yep.
And he literally turns them loose. And what makes him amazing is he makes the right call at the right time. And there was so much chatter about what Allen should have done on that last play. And Fitzmagic of all people is like, yeah, while you're sitting on your couch watching the play 35 times, stand back there when there's a 240-pound guy free running at you at full speed. And it was disguised so well that he was the last guy of the 5 at the line of scrimmage that you thought was coming.
Yep.
So it's not a matter of, he's going to blitz because that's their identity, is that you don't know where it's coming from with them. And he's done such a great job of disguising it that you can't do anything about it. They don't stop the run particularly well. That should be an edge for the Eagles, of course, obviously. They don't stop the pass particularly well. Like they're middle of the pack in yards allowed in both rushing and passing, which should be a massive advantage. They don't cover tight ends for shit, so Goddard should have a huge day.
Yep.
They're still going to win. Because they're like a vampire. Until somebody puts a stake in their heart and kills them, you can't pick against them because you can't.
And they get calls. I'm sorry, they do. But
they definitely do. They definitely.
Here's the thing with the Chiefs, though. They make plays that winning teams make. When Denver's lining up for a very makeable field goal to beat them earlier in the year, they block the kick.
Yeah.
And win the game. They make plays like that, and other teams don't.
They don't make mistakes.
And they don't make – well, they do, but they –
But they make the least number of mistakes. So they
don't make the big mistake late in the second half of games.
No.
That's when they don't make mistakes. They'll turn the ball over. All teams do. But when the chips are on the line, they don't mess up.
Their advantage is at this point they know they're going to win, and anybody they play hopes they're going to. Like late in the game, I hope we're going to win this game. I hope we make a play. They're different. They know they're going to make a play. The swing pass on third down to Pirine.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, if that's the Jets, it's an incomplete pass. So let's just we won't even talk about that.
Yeah.
But like just the play design and all the weird eye candy motion that they do on offense with like limited players, the Worthy's really starting to come into his own. But like that interception that ended up being a catch is like, I mean, that could have been a pick.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, lucky, fortunate, come out on the right end, whatever you want to call it. The Chiefs could be 3-14 this year.
I wish they were.
I mean, they've won so many games, like starting with week 1 when, Lively's a toenail on the end line from the Ravens not winning that game. And it just got more maddening as the season went on. And now you're the Bills. What do you do?
You keep at it.
I guess losing to Mahomes 4 times is better than losing in a Super Bowl 4 times, I guess.
I just think Buffalo, I know, look, they lived with the Josh Allen sneaks and all that, and they died by it because they kept running it to the same spot every single time. Just once I would have just had him take the snap, line up like you're doing, like you're going right over the guard, and pitch it out to Cook on the wing because they weren't even guarding it. They weren't.
I
keep them honest a little bit.
It's the same thing with the Eagles with the brotherly shove or tush push. Like someday they're going to fake that, take one step backwards, and Goddard's going to peel off the end of the line. He's going to be 20 yards downfield, and they're going to be anywhere near him.
Yeah.
But I've never seen him do it yet.
I know, but
how about the little known rule that if the Commanders would have jumped off sides one more time, the referees could have awarded a touchdown.
That would have been an interesting talking point had the game ended up a little closer. Had they done that. The man seemed a little irritable.
Yeah, I mean, the first one, Frankie Louveau was only allowed offside. Like, he went over the top of Hurts, which is crazy. They got the Jets let go for nothing. The second one was just a head bob. I think when they were trying to describe it, if it was the same guy twice, then he could have used it, but it didn't matter. I don't know. It was very odd. It was very odd. And of course, when they had him twice and they knew that was what was going to happen, the third time he was in the back of the end zone before anybody even touched him. So it was like, no kidding. No kidding. Should be a good Super Bowl. Hope it's a good Super Bowl. Hope the commercials are good.
We'll get into more of that next week.
Yeah, prop bets.
We could do a couple of those.
Prop bets. We can get the prop bet. We can get that. We can get our weird bets going.
All
Since
right.
I did research on heads and tails and how many teams is won heads and how many teams is not. So now I have the statistics to make my betting strategy even stronger, which
Very
wasn't going
good.
to matter.
Very good. All right. Well, on that note, we will
Maybe next week when we convene, Pete Alonso will be on a baseball team.
We shall see about that.
We get closer and closer to players, and there's a lot of unsigned players.
Yep.
A lot.
Get signed. I got my prep to do.
I know. We can't rake Jack Flaherty next week in the top 24 pitchers because he hasn't on a team yet.
I don't know where he's going. I don't know.
Here's a preview for those of you that tune in next week. There's not a shot in fucking hell that Lance Lynn is going to be on my list. Not one shot. Never.
All
Kyle
right.
Gibson, Lance Lynn. That's the last time we're going to talk about him.
All right. We will catch you next week.
Adios.
Later.